going on, Jets fans? Welcome into the Jets Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we're going to take a look at the 2025 NFL Draft and go over 5 quarterbacks that the New York Jets could potentially take to replace this guy right here, Aaron Rodgers. But before we tell you guys the 5 names, you guys just got to let me know, how are you feeling about drafting a quarterback this season? Should the Jets draft a QB this year? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're new GM Darren Mougey, would you be looking to take a quarterback in this year's draft? So we're going to start off here talking about some unlikely quarterback options for the New York Jets, and that being Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Now, with the Jets having the 7th pick in the NFL draft, I think it's unlikely that either of these guys, will fall to pick number 7. But there are some teams drafting ahead of the New York Jets that could be potentially available to trade down. And let's just take a hypothetical here. Let's just say Travis Hunter, the Titans view him as a generational prospect. They take him number 1. And then the Browns, they trade away Myles Garrett, and they take Abdul Carter at 3. And then the New York Giants, let's just say they take a quarterback, Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. And then you got picks 4 and 5 potentially with availability for the Jets to trade up for pick number 4 or 5 from the Patriots or the Jags. But then if you get past pick number 6, I'm assuming the Raiders would take a quarterback as well. But the only quarterback between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders that I would be open to trading up for would be Shedeur. Now, I am a massive Shedeur Sanders fan. I am probably the biggest Shedeur Sanders believer that you guys will see here on YouTube or covering the NFL. I just think he's made of the right stuff, and he really does remind me of a Joe Burrow type of quarterback. But what I love so much about Shedeur, this past season at Colorado, he had no offensive line, and he had no run game, and he didn't really have, besides Travis Hunter, too much elite talent around him. And he is a fantastic thrower when under pressure. Just check out the bottom row there. When he was blitzed this season, he had 15 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions and had 11 big-time throws, 3 turnover-worthy plays, and he had a completion percentage of 68.5. And when he is under pressure, still solid. 12 touchdowns, 5 picks, 8 big-time throws. Yes, has the turnover-worthy plays, but also when he's kept clean and his offensive line does the job, he is fantastic. 80% completion percentage, 25 touchdowns, 5 picks. Now, also what I do like about Shedeur is he's great in the pocket. Like when I watch this guy and I go back and watch a lot of videos of Shedeur and Cam Ward working out together this offseason preparing for the draft, you can just see how much more polished Shedeur is in the pocket. And it makes sense because he's had Tom Brady, Deion Sanders in his ear since he's been 12 years old, coaching him up at the quarterback position. And I do really believe in, just with everything in life, I think everybody is a product of their environment. And the environment Shedeur has been around his entire life has been just greatness. Now, am I saying Shedeur is going to be a great quarterback? I'm not sure. But I think he's got the potential to be a guy like my pro comp for him. I got to go Joe Burrow. And, I think the biggest reason for this is how good Burrow and Shedeur are how good they are at just throwing from the pocket, staying in the pocket, where a lot of these young quarterbacks, their first read, especially if they are great athletes, first read's not there, pocket collapsing, I'm just going to take off, try to make a play. Where Shedeur, where he reminds me a lot of Burrow, pocket collapsing, I'm just going to move my feet, slide up in the pocket, and buy myself that extra half a second to make a good throw. And then also the cool, calm, and collected factor that Burrow obviously has. I think Shedeur kind of has that same swagger where it doesn't really come off as cockiness to me. It just comes off as confidence. Like, he knows who he is. He's Deion Sanders' kid. He has been training with Tom Brady since he's been 12 years old. He is just a way more polished quarterback. Now, yes, the negative of Shedeur compared to Cam Ward, there's no denying Cam Ward has a more live arm, and he can – he's just got a more explosive arm. But again, I think that's almost a little overrated in terms of NFL play, because in the NFL, it just comes down to, can you consistently be accurate with the football, consistently win from the pocket, which I think Shedeur does that way better than Cam Ward. So how could the Jets land Shedeur Sanders? I think you would have to call the Cleveland Browns and offering them a haul to move up to pick number 2, where it would be the Browns receiving your 7th overall pick this year, your 42nd overall pick this year, next year's 1st, and next year's 3rd-round pick to trade up 5 slots. But let's just say Cam Ward goes number 1. Shedeur Sanders is there at number 2. I know this is a haul, but I'm a big believer in this guy. And I think, obviously we talk about the New York media and how hard they can be on a rookie quarterback. I think Shedeur would live up to it. I almost think he would thrive in that environment where everybody's watching him. Every throw is criticized. I just think he's made of the right stuff. I'm a big believer in him. I'll talk about him a whole lot more on the channel, but I'll ask you guys this. Would you trade up for him? What say you? Would you trade up for Shedeur Sanders? Give me a Y for yes, or give me an N for no down below in the comment section. I know he's a polarizing prospect. Some people love him. Some people aren't the biggest fan of his game. I am. I understand his arm talent is not as good as these other guys, coming out like a Cam Ward, but I just think he's made of the right stuff. He's great in the pocket, and he has just been, around greatness his whole life. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's great in the NFL. But you guys let me know. Would you trade up for Shedeur Sanders? All right, let's dive into 3 guys I could see the Jets taking in maybe day 2 or day 3 of the NFL draft. And we're going to start off with Ole Miss quarterback Jaxson Dart, who actually over the past couple weeks and after the Senior Bowl, he has been flying up draft boards. Now, Jaxson Dart has a live arm. Like, there's no denying that. He is one of those guys where you get the typical phrase, he can touch every blade of grass on the football field. He's got some mobility to him where he can escape, make a play outside the pocket. And I'm actually a bigger fan of Jaxson Dart than most people. And, he had a really solid year for Ole Miss. Now, he did have a couple games in the tail half of the season where he collapsed and ruined their college football chances. So I kind of have some question marks like, would he be able to live up to the moment with the New York Jets playing in that big-time, media market? But, stats look pretty good from this past season, almost completing 70% of his passes, threw for just over 4,200 yards, had 32 total touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He is a very interesting prospect. Like I was saying, he's got a live arm, but, again, my question marks with Jaxson Dart would be, I think he would need to sit for a year or 2. So maybe the Jets go in the direction where it's like, hey, we're going to go sign a guy like, Jacoby Brissett or Marcus Mariota, or you just ride out with Tyrod Taylor, and then maybe at the tail half of the season, Jaxson Dart ends up getting some runs. So Dart, if it's a day 2 pick, cool. There's just no chance I'm going to take him at pick number 7 if the first 2 quarterbacks are off the board at that spot. But let's dive into another one here. Jalen Milroe, another polarizing prospect, elite athlete. Honestly, one of the freakiest quarterback athletes we have seen coming out since Anthony Richardson. But I do think a guy like Jalen Milroe got a little boost after the Super Bowl because these NFL GMs, they saw a guy like Jalen Hurts who was pretty comparable to Jalen Milroe coming out. And listen, this past season was worse than his 2023 campaign. But kind of my take on Milroe, he throws a really beautiful deep ball. He's got great mobility. The only thing is, can he win from the pocket? And that's the biggest question with Milroe. But then again, we saw a guy like Jalen Hurts, same thing, throws a beautiful deep ball, great mobility, and he was able to do enough from the pocket and develop into enough of a pocket quarterback where you were able to, go win a Super Bowl. But the one thing about Milroe, I will say, and if we're going to take this Jalen Hurts comparison here, I think you would need to have a loaded roster around him. Like, I think you would need to have, an Eagles-S roster. You got 2 phenomenal weapons, and you got the best run game in the NFL. And I will say, Jalen Milroe would be able to improve the run game because when you're running those read option plays, you just got to take more accountability for the quarterback. So the run game would take a step up with Milroe. But again, it comes down to the pocket. But if you believe Jalen Milroe can get good enough from the pocket, yeah, I would be totally okay with the Jets taking a chance on him in the 3rd or the 4th round. But a guy that was supposed to be a first-round pick before the year did not have too good of a season for the Longhorns, and that's Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers. Now, if the Jets had an offensive-minded head coach like a Sean McVay, like a Kevin O'Connell or a Matt LaFleur, I would be way more open to the idea of Quinn Ewers because I still think he has, he was a 5-star recruit. He was one of the best Texas high school quarterbacks ever. He's got a live arm, but I just think he needs more coaching in his life. I think he needs to develop more, and I think Ewers, take a team like the Los Angeles Rams. If they ride it out with Stafford for the next 2 seasons and just have Ewers work behind the scenes, I think that would be an ideal landing spot for him. But specifically for the New York Jets, I think it would be a disaster if he was taken. But, hey, 33 touchdowns, 12 picks. Yes, he was playing with a great team around him here at Texas. But, again, when you have a great college team and you're talking about the Texas Longhorns for this past season, what was the weak spot? It was the quarterback. So I don't love that kind of being the message here or being the story around Quinn Ewers. But if I had to pick between Dart, Milroe, and Ewers, I would actually take a chance on Milroe. At least that's where I'm at right now. But pretty much my take on the quarterback position and in the draft, I'm not pounding the table saying, hey, they need to go trade up for Shedeur Sanders. If a trade presents itself and you're not giving up a ton of draft capital, then maybe I would consider it. But I would love for the Jets to just draft a QB on day 2 or 3, like a guy like Jalen Milroe. And then, maybe you sign a bridge quarterback or a young guy like Justin Fields, or you just ride it out with Tyrod Taylor. But I don't think this is a year for the Jets organization where it's like, hey, we need to go win. We need to go win at least 10 games or else we're all getting fired. This is year 1 of a new regime. I think this is a big culture year where, yeah, you might be a 7-10 football team, but at least you have a good culture and you're a feisty football team that nobody wants to play on any given Sunday. But, we'll have to wait and see how the Jets play this draft out. But I'll ask you guys this. Do you want the Jets to draft a quarterback with any of their picks in this year's 2025 NFL draft? Give me a D for draft or give me a P for pass down below in the comment section. You guys can also, or friendly reminder here, to hit that subscribe button, lock us in, help us reach 3,000 subscribers here at the Jets Report. See you guys next time. As always, go Jets.